All right. Okay, everybody. Hey, welcome to FYR Friday. Hey, can you guys hear me? Everything's good? All right, awesome. So welcome. And I'm coming to you from the Jersey Shore from vacation today, which is not a bad place to be. I guess, you know, everybody's talking about brick and mortar all the time. It's kind of nice to be able to work from wherever you want, isn't it? I think people understand the benefits of that. It adds your quality of life too. To take an hour out and to sit down at the beach and have a conversation with all these awesome faces on the screen makes it really fun, and wouldn't trade that for the world. So anyway, welcome. Sorry, guys. Welcome, and we got a great guest today. So the one thing Dave is really good at doing is promoting all of our people from within our own group. We have a lot of talent in this group, and I know as the weeks go on, we're going to start highlighting people and putting people on a hot seat, as he likes to call it. Um, but today, you guys have heard the name Chuck Roberts many, many, many times. And Chuck is an absolute superstar and a powerhouse in real estate. And it's kind of we're very fortunate that he's a part of this group to share his wisdom with us. I mean, Chuck is all over the nation here, guys. His reach is very, very far, and it's awesome to have him here. So, Chuck, welcome, my friend. It's good to see you, and thanks for taking time to hang with us today.
My pleasure. Really been looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. So we got about 23 minutes of solid gold to go with here. So let's jump right into it. So it's funny I noticed in your third year, so people know what we're dealing with here, because this will lead into what you want to get into. In Chuck's third year, he had 140 sales. He built a team. He flipped over 50 properties, and then shortly after that, became one of the regional directors for KW, which there was only like 30 or 32 in the entire nation. Um, but he built a massive, massive business. So Chuck, um, what was your mindset? And talk about your focus and what were some of the key ingredients for your growth. And what were the successes because of that?
I would probably say learning and listening to Zig Ziglar as a kid, and him saying that if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that works, right?
Yeah, it's funny.
So
I think every business needs to have some type of, as you guys are doing your own businesses, you need to have some kind of mission statement for what you are going to be. And I think all your marketing and everything you do should reflect who you are. And kind of what Chuck's just saying, I know my personal business was always give to get. That was always the philosophy of how I did things. I never asked anybody for anything. I was never a salesy guy. It was always give to get. I gave, and in return, I got business and stuff out of it. So I kind of feel like that's what you're talking about.
very much so. Whenever we opened up our first market center, first real estate company in North Louisiana, at that time, the largest company in our board was about 75 agents. There's 388 agents in the board, and at our peak, we wound up with 195 inside of our office.
Wow.
And it was pretty cool. And it was very much that same thing. It was just meeting with each person, asking them what they wanted out of their life, out of their business. And if it was something that we could help them with, I'm like, you want to come go with me? And they usually did. And then we made sure that we helped. Right. And so I think that's the key to everything, whether you're working with a for sale by owner, an expired, somebody you're bringing in for your rev share. That's the key.
So I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's a little bit more than just, hey, do you want to come with me? I'm gonna have to guess that you probably had a much deeper approach than that. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a really big believer in following, some people call them a script. I'd call them a survey, needs analysis, and, have a list of my favorite questions. And one of those would be, if we were sitting here 5 years from now and I asked you how your business and your world was going, and, what would it take for you to say it's amazing? And then you just be really quiet, and people will tell you in that moment what they're missing. And I think having everything that EXP has and being able to kind of filter through our value proposition, having it with you. So you go, we can help with that. We can help with that. We can help with that. And then all of a sudden, then the needs analysis can turn into a consulting conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things we talk about a lot too. Is don't be in such a rush to, I like to say, throw up on people of everything that we have at EXP. You don't know what path to go down with them until you get the right answer, or the questions answered that you're looking for, and most of that has to come from them. So it's always about, I think in the beginning, we're doing 80% of the listening, right? So let them talk so you know how to help them.
Mhm. And one of the things that helps with that I found is having a conversation and either mentally telling yourself or telling them up front that we won't bring up EXP unless they do. And sometimes you'll find that you'll go 45 minutes and it'll get really, really amazing of all of the things that they are needing and their goals and their struggles and all of those things. And as long as you're just going through the questions and right and finding out about that, once they've kind of emptied out that wish list, that desire list, that thing they're stuck on, their frustration, when they empty it out, the fact that you haven't tried to diagnose all of their illnesses, all of a sudden the next thing is so tell me about EXP. And it's kind of like, can you help me? You just heard it. Can you help me? That's an amazing place to be.
Yeah. So do you find that that typically happens all in one conversation, or do you generally? Because some people, it's kind of like a listing appointment, right? Some people have one-step listing appointment. Some people have a two-step, right? They kind of get all the information, then they go back with that. What have you? Do you find different ways of doing things? Do you have a set way that you like to do it?
Mhm. Yeah. So what I would say is most of the time after the first conversation, we want to be in business together. And then a lot of times I'll have to have another conversation to just go through the presentation of everything we offer, because as much as anything, I don't want them to fall in love with what can be, not totally understand everything that we have, and then somebody be able to sway them with something that I didn't share. And I think our PowerPoint does a great job of that. And so usually after the first conversation, like we want to be in business together. And a lot of that, like one of my questions right after that, scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your business? Everybody that's talented never says over a 7, because they're always, we're never happy. We see the flaw. Everybody's like, oh, you sold too much. You're like, it's a train wreck. It's really a 4.
Yeah.
This isn't close, because everybody has their own standard. And when you ask that question and they start to share, then you just ask, what do you need to know? What do you need to do? And what do you need to have to be able to be a 10? And most people they'll just share from where they are. And what I found is that with EXP, like we can actually contribute to anybody that wants to have their real estate license and make their lives better and their business better. And yet I don't know which one of the million ways that we have to do that. And if I'm not giving them what they're wanting, then I'm just spewing on them. And
So you
so,
just hit something. Let me interrupt you one second, because you just hit something that was so super powerful that I think can help everybody on the call. Because a lot of times, especially in my role, 'cause I support people with these calls. A lot of people say, "Well, I don't know how to help them. I don't know what to do." And what you just said was this. Make sure you guys understand what Chuck said. He said, "If you're at a 7, what do you think you need in order to get to a 10?" That's their pain.
that's it. That's
They're
the guy.
telling you exactly what you need to know. That's the questions to the test. All at that point, then you come up with the answers. So, Chuck, I think that was really, you went through it because you're so used to doing it, but that right there is probably one of the key things that you're going to say all day.
And the other part in that, if you're new to this, right, there's how do I be prepared? I personally use an iPad. Before that, it was a notebook. I would have my list of my favorite questions written out. I never winged that conversation. Um, and I have them written out. And then below that, right, I'll have attached our calendar, the EXP calendar, the things that we do inside of our organization and all of those. And I think EXP has done a phenomenal job of, when you look at our calendar for a month, basically that was created by some really, really smart people, smarter than me, that goes, this meets anybody in our organization can get value from this. And so what do we have to offer comes from, well, what does our calendar say from all of our smart leadership that goes, these are the solution. You want to learn how to run a team? Well, there's a class for that. You want to learn how to get started? There's a class for that. You need some time management? There's a class for that. So if you just use our calendar to go from how you can help them get from a 7 to a 10, that's what our organization is doing its best to help with. And all of the things that I see happening inside of our classes.
Yeah, so leveraging the tools that we have as a company is huge, and that gets back to being familiar with what we have, you guys, and understanding what our value propositions are. You don't have to do this on your own, and you don't have to be the person that's developing the medicine. It's already done. You just got to know where to find it. You know, you need to know what drawer to go to. So let's talk about something else you just touched on. Because a lot of people now in this area, especially Kyle and some of the other people, they're really starting to talk to a lot of teams, and I think they're nervous about, you know, what's the difference between talking to a team leader versus an approach to talking to an individual agent, that kind of thing. So do you have a different approach to that, Chuck, or is it the same thing and you're just retooling it a little bit?
It's literally the same question, right? If we were sitting here 5 years from now and your business was amazing, what would you say? And they will tell you. And if this month they are struggling because they can't get the right hires in, if they're struggling because, you know, something's going on with their agent count, they will just share with you, and that is their pain. So I would never have a conversation almost with anybody, and a lot of the folks that hang out with me and on my team and all that know that like, why would I even begin to have a conversation with you in a fashion that I'm going to help if I don't ask you what you need? That would be the same as a doctor walking in and just looking at you and say, well, looks like your stomach's hurting. And you're like, I broke my leg, dude. You would just be like totally appalled. Like, you can't even ask me where my pain is. Yeah. So if there's something inside of that where, and for me, a lot of times creating habits is setting an alarm in my phone and just literally saying, ask questions for the first hour of the day, or ask, you know, and just a reminder until it becomes a habit. That really, how do you help somebody if you don't ask them first where their pain is? Yeah,
so 100%. So let me ask you this. So on your initial calls, because we get a lot of these questions a lot too, is do you have a script that you use when you're doing the initial call to set an appointment, or what's your approach on that? Because a lot of people are trying to figure out, where do I even get started? How do I want to do this growth thing. I want to do this attraction thing. I want to build this revenue share, but I don't know how to get started. I can't get out of the mud. So what do you have a script and a process that you use to get everything initiated?
We do. And so whatever that thing is that we're working on, right? So if it's something that we want to be able to attract agents in, it's kind of like, what is it that you could reach out? If it's a cold call, I'm going to start with that. If it's a cold call or a cold text, which works really well, that's also, what is something that you have that you can help them with that they might be needing? And so whether that's creating a referral network, if that's, you know, having an opportunity where you have somebody looking in a town that's separate than you and being able to say, hey, I'm trying to find an agent that when I have something in this town, I can call you with. Those type of things, right, is really key to me. It's key to be able to say, what does the agent want, you know, that's 4 towns over? And if they're local, what do they want that we might be doing in training, or might be can invite them into?
Yeah. And it's don't you find your conversations with agents and team leaders how small people think a lot of times? And it's not their fault. I think a lot of people have this small mindset because they've never seen it at a larger scale. They've never seen what potential there could be. They've never seen that you can grow your business just from sitting in the room that you're in right now at a massive rate, where it's really going to move the needle in your life. Do you ever talk to people about that? And, you know, how does that go for you?
All the time. And I think that's part of that is, once again, why we ask them the question of, if we were sitting here 5 years from now, what would it take to be awesome? Scale of 1 to 10, right? How would you rate your business? And then next, what do you need, you know, what do you need to know, do, or have to be able to get there? In that, if they are somebody that has never been exposed to the power of worldwide, how do you expect them to understand what the power of worldwide is? You can't. Right. And so if you just kind of put yourself in their skin for a minute and just go, we really don't know what the other human has been exposed to. And all of a sudden you open that up and all they can talk about is, I just wish I could figure out how to get 1 listing. Well, if you talk about worldwide, you're 2 different, like, don't even go there. And I had to really work hard on myself of being able to say, let me just help them with what they asked for, not help them with everything that I think they should have. And that I think that's a big key. So, and it's the same with the team. I mean, it's amazing. I've had some really huge producers and they've never looked outside of their small town, and they'll be the most dominant person and they'll go, you ask them about doing something 4 towns over or another state, and it's just like, I have no interest in that.
Yeah.
Right? Well, tell me about that. Well, we traveled my whole life and we moved to this town, and I said, I'm never leaving again. And I'm scared with my personality, I'll get to chasing something shiny 2 states over and I'll be on the road all the time and miss my kids growing up. Right? How do you know that if you're not asking them the questions?
Yeah. Again, what path you're going to lead them down? You need to go down the path that they want you to go down, right? So huge. So let me ask you this. How important do you think it is? Everybody here is in production and they all have systems, right? They're systematic about how you go and get listings, systematic about how you get buyers, systematic about your marketing, all that kind of stuff. Talk to me about your approach or your thought process of being systematic about attraction.
Well, and so I think an example of that is we have a call inside of our organization that we do 5 days a week. First day is about your goals. Everybody shares what their goals are for the year and how they're setting. Second day is about your pipeline. How many 9s and 10s do you have? Next day is for 30 minutes is about your database. Thursdays is about what project, if you took it on, would change everything in your business and make it easier and more profitable. Fridays is Gratitude Friday. And if somebody will come hang out with me and have those 4 conversations every week for a year, it'll change their world.
So that was pretty important stuff right there that you went through pretty quick too. Let's talk about rating the people in your pipeline. You said 9s and 10s. Okay. So I'm going to make sure people understand that, because I think you do it in your database for production too, right? You have your A people, your B, your C. The A people are the people that are going to refer you business. They're going to refer you 2 or 3 pieces of business every year. You got to treat them a certain way. Your B people are, they're going to give your name out, you hope. C people, they may or may not, we categorize everybody. So so you are very purposeful in tracking the people that you're talking to for attraction, and you rate them as well.
Yeah. And on our system, just to kind of clarify a little bit. So a 10 is somebody that's going to do something business with us. They're going to write a contract, write a listing, or sign up to the company this month. So a 10 is this month, a 9 is next month, and 8 is the following month. So we look at it from a cash flow standpoint. If you're selling real estate and you don't have a 10 this month, might want to cut back on the bills because things are going to get tight. And so we can create urgency and focus on, you said you wanted to make this, you need to know how to do this, you need to have this, right? And we just are teaching the know, do, and have every week based on that. And the how many 10s and 9s you have is how many closings are you going to have, the contracts will you write this month, how many next month. And now that exposes, I do need help with this. And that's kind of the process. So we do rank everything.
Yeah, and I think that's smart. I think you got to, forgive me for the noise. There's a rainstorm happening right now. I'm outside.
Can't hear it at all.
Hey, rain or shine, man, we're going. So I think it is very important that you're tracking, production or attraction. Where your business is coming from is just as important as where you want it to go, right? Mm-hmm. So tracking that stuff and knowing where you are, keeping score, accountability of yourself, all of that matters. And it matters in every aspect of this career that you're trying to build. It's got to be sustainable.
Absolutely.
I think, so let's go with that, Chuck. We got about 6 minutes here. What do you think are a couple of keys to sustainability in a strong real estate business in any aspect of it?
Really, it boils down to those 5 things that I talked about every morning, right? Being able to really know where you are, know where your pipeline is, and if it's not enough, then making sure that you're leveraging the database and appointments to build more relationships or follow up with the ones we had. Every week looking and saying, what can we do that would change the game if we could just pull it off? And then gratitude. And I think that is the key, which is why those are our pillars each week.
Yeah. So some words of wisdom. Can you offer some words of, yeah, that's right. You.
I was going to say, we need to give somebody else that question. I can't help with that one.
Yeah. I think you're right. By the way, I'm a huge LSU fan. So if, is there any words of wisdom or encouragement that you can offer to our group for the people who really want to get started, just don't know how, and they're nervous about it. They're scared to talk to people, or they're, just, can you give something to them to say, go do it?
Mhm. Number one, don't give up, right? It's simple. It's not easy. So just don't give up. Number two, get really connected with your big why. Like, why are you doing this? And if we were sitting here 5 years from now and I asked you, how was your business? And you was able to say, it was awesome. What would you have spent all of the time and the money and the opportunities on? And have that written down so that you know that when you don't feel like doing it on a Tuesday, what you're saying no to. And that's a big, big thing to be able to do that. And then the other is taking opportunity with everything that we have to make ourselves better. And then in exchange of that, what you'll find is that there is a lot of hurting people out there. So as you're improving in yourself, you'll recognize other people that are hurting and you can say, will this help with the pain? And to me, that's kind of the formula.
I think that's super important what you just said too, because we are in a market that is, sorry, I had to put my hat on, so I'm getting wet now. We're in a market that things are changing, and I mean, inventory is short. We know that. People year-over-year production for the majority of agents in the country is probably less this year than it was last year. So having multiple revenue streams and having multiple opportunities to stay in the business that we love, but not be in panic mode, we have a lot to offer. And at the end of the day, guys, what's the worst thing somebody can say when you give them a call? I'm not interested. You're going to recover. You're not going to bleed. It's going to be okay. You shake it off and go get the next one. I mean, it's really that simple. And I think, we hear it all the time, Chuck, and it's something people say, but I don't know if people 100% really buy into it. Is the big why that you're talking about? To me, that's the center of everything. And if you haven't written out your big why, and you need to go deep, it's not just, I want my kids to have a better life than me. Well, why? Why? I like to go 5, 6 levels deep on that why, because you really get down to the root of it. And I think that is so critical to the success. I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I think it's key. It's the thing that helps you get through the 2 o'clock nightmares. When the market gets funky, it's the thing that gets you up in the morning and says, I need to be on a call to get my brain started. And my big why, like my actual number of what I need to make each year is based on an accumulation of everything that my family and me have said that we wanted for security, safety, and growth. So it's not an arbitrary number of what I want to make this year. If I don't make that number, somebody doesn't get what I want them to get. And
there has to be substance to that number. There has to be purpose to that number. And I think we got to be purposeful in everything that we do, even when we're talking about mindset to making the calls. If you're going to cold call, if you're going to cold text, whatever it's going to be, are you just doing it to do it, or is there really a purpose behind the message? Are you really preparing for that market shift, or are you being purposeful in how you're going to attack it? Purpose to me is one of the most undervalued words in our life, but I think it's one of the most important.
And if you want to take that into agent attraction, asking yourself, are you attracting agents so that you can make more money and that's the end of the purpose? You're going to have a hard road, right? If you're in a spot of going, everybody is nervous right now with what's going on in the market, and we have so many things to be able to help them with. And so if we can come from a place of how do we genuinely help them get better? And in that, a lot of the things that they'll say from a 7 to a 10 that they wish they had, you'll look and you'll go, me too. And that's where you want to come go with me comes from, because I go, yes, and yes, and yes. So I need to do that. You want to come go with me and we'll learn together, because I know where the tools are. I know the people to ask. I know what classes to go to. So come go with me. And to me, it brings a lot more of a purpose into it.
Sure does. And that's kind of how I always open up my calls with people is I'm like, hey, don't look at this as a recruiting call. We got a shifting market going on in the area. Let's get together and talk about it. I'm going to have some ups and downs. I'm sure you are. Let's go talk about it. I'd like to know what you're doing. Then it just leads right into it. So I think when people feel like they're not being sold and you're in this with them, because we are, That's really what we're doing. We're giving them a gift, right? Because they realize that we're in this thing with them, the conversation becomes much simpler.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a wonderful approach. I had an agent today. And I'll just toss this out. I have somebody that's looking to buy $5 million a month in short-term rentals. And so if anybody out there has anything, right, let me know. And so you have to ask for referrals too, by the way. So inside of that, I had an agent, I put that on Facebook, an agent, another company reached out this morning, said, hey, if you need some help with that, I'd love to help, right? What would it look like if we had buyers that were in need and we were to call other agents and say, I can't find anything on the market like this, but I know that, you know, every agent has 5 listings they're working on. Do you know anybody? And all of a sudden then just start a conversation, right? And the other part is some will, some won't, so what next? Some will, some won't, so what next? Because the moment that you talk to them, if they're not in pain, it's okay. The timing wasn't right. It wasn't the season. Move on to find the next person that is in that pain.
It's that simple. Chuck, you were awesome today, man. Great stuff. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, this is the kind of talent that we have just within our own little group, let alone the whole company. But, you know, one of the things he was talking about, I'm going to put it back on gallery so you can see everybody. One of the things, you know, Chuck is talking about is we're leveraging each other. You know, we're all part of this together. We'll all help each other out. So if we can help each other grow and help each other, you know, be more productive, that's what we're here to do. But this is a family. This FYR screen that you're seeing is family. That's what we are. And that's what we need to do for each other. So please leverage all of us. And if you're stuck, reach out to Chuck, reach out to Dave, reach out to myself. We are more than happy to help anytime we can. So Chuck, thank you, man. Awesome. Any closing words you want to put out there?
Go get them. Go get them.
As easy as that. It really is. So guys, have a fantastic week. Have a great weekend. We will see you in 7 days back at the FYR family tree. All right. So we will see you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody.